Welcome, everybody, to another episode, another week of Running Through the Jungles Friday night NFL Pick'em Show with your host, Justin Lacey, and me, your boy, Tim Lyons from Running Through the Jungle. Welcome, everybody. Here we go. You know, we're starting off a new week, Justin. We got to turn a new leaf.
Yeah,
for
sure.
So as of right now, you're 74-41.
Terrible.
And I'm 77-38. I took a couple game lead on you this week or from last week.
Yeah.
Last week's game was rough, even for both. It was rough. You were 7-9 last week, and I was 9-7. You know, I think that's the most losses we've had in a week so far. But you know, there are some games that it's just like, do we pick these guys or we pick these guys? If we pick these guys, they're going to lose. If we don't pick these guys, they're going to win. And that's exactly what happened to us. But anyways, Justin, how's your week going, buddy?
Yeah, the week's going great, man. You know, as a Bengals fan, you're feeling pretty excited that, you know, your team's still in it. Joe Burrow rejuvenated the spirits. Obviously, that didn't bode well for my Pick'em show from last week's games, a slate of games that we discussed, because I ended up going 0-4 on combined Thanksgiving and Black Friday. You know, we started off by talking about the Lions and Packers. We both thought that the Lions was going to have a home field advantage for the second meeting against these two teams. And the Packers ended up walking in there to Ford's Field, and they just pretty much just took over like they always do. Mm-hmm. As far as the Chiefs and Cowboys, we were splitting the difference there. You took the Cowboys, I took the Chiefs. Mm-hmm. And I was just thinking, like, look, man, this is probably where those moments where the Chiefs are built for this one. And I don't know if the Cowboys were there quite yet. Well, they proved me wrong. And quite frankly, the Cowboys pretty much mustered up the ability to be able to stop and slow down the Chiefs offense, and they got the win there. Bengals, Ravens. We both were on the side of the Ravens because we just didn't know that the matchup was going to favor the Bengals, being on the road at Baltimore primetime for the fourth year in a row. And what do you know? Joe Burrow and company, man, they decided to go ahead and just play incredible football. Finally, they feel like it was a connected team, and then they pulled off the win, a big win at that. And then Friday night, the Black Friday game. At this point, man, I don't know what to make of the Eagles anymore. I mean, you thought that was going to be the culmination card for them to pretty much stamp their I am a Super Bowl champion. This is where we make our money here. We're going to stop the schneid. And then the Chicago Bears, this is where their glory run comes to an end because they got a tough slate of games ahead, starting with at Philadelphia. And then what do you know? The Eagles' offense is putrid once again. So that put me at a major disadvantage because that put me at 0-4. Oh, and then my team, Kryptonite, that continuously to bite me in the butt every time they're on the pick'em slate, the Carolina Panthers pulled off a big-time upset win over the LA Rams. So, and look, that was the slip-up. We had at some point, I figured, looking at the rest of the Rams schedule, that they had to slip up somewhere. I thought it was just the previous week. Nope, it ended up being last week's game against the Panthers. So, tip my cap to Bryce Young and company in that Panthers team. If they are happening to be able to get a playoff spot or just ended up taking the division under the Bucs' nose, tip my cap to them, man. They deserve it. Dave Canales built a great team out there. I won't call them great, but they're a good factory run team so far. They're young, they're growing, they're feisty, they're scrappy, man. So nothing to do with the Carolina Panthers team as a whole, but I'm really proud of what I saw from them. As far as that, that's how you build the team. That's how you build a connected team through the draft, developing and being patient with your picks.
Yeah, you know, it was a tough week last week for all of us. You know, it seemed like, I don't know, to me, when the announcers say, oh, you know, like for instance, Stafford was on like an 8-game, no interceptions thrown or whatever the hell it was. And then next, you know, he throws 2 or 3 picks against Carolina.
Oh, he was horrible.
He played awful. And, you know, it's football is going to football. We don't know what's going to happen from week to week. But anyways, I just want to shout out some people in the chat. Afton, thank you for showing up. Thank you for coming and supporting Running Through the Jungles NFL Pick'em Show. I don't care if you're not there on Wednesday nights or on after our games or anything, but I appreciate you being here on our Friday night Pick'em Show. And welcome, as always, Austin Art. Thank you for coming. Happy Friday, buddy. Now, you know what? Let's get into the show. Oh, actually, you know what? Hold on a second. Sorry, my presentation of my Bleacher. And if you guys want to, we use Bleacher Report for our games. It shows you the under and or the over and unders. It shows you the point spread. If you want to follow along with us, you can, or if not, just sit here and look at our screen. But anyways, let's get into the very first game. Justin, you started off this week 0-1. You picked the Cowboys, or excuse me, you picked the Cowboys over the Detroit Lions on Thursday Night Football in Detroit. Justin, what do you got to say, buddy?
I'm stupid. That's what I got to say. I should have known that I never should have picked the Cowboys. What was I thinking? Okay. I think I was riding too much of the roller coaster emotions of kind of sipping the Kool-Aid for what they did these last few weeks. This Cowboys defense have gotten better. They've rebounded. They pulled off a big win at home against the Chiefs on Thanksgiving Day. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, well, you know what? Let's ride the train again for another week. To be honest, I really didn't know who I was going to pick to win this game. But I should have just stuck to my guns of the Thursday night massacre for the road team. It is never a favorable spot when they play on Thursday night Amazon Prime for the road team going into a tough stadium. Right. The Lions, they've built a great team. That Ford Field has become a tough place to play for opponents. This is not an easy game. And had the game started unfolding, I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, man, the Cowboys are getting away with a bunch of lucky breaks here because this should be a beatdown from the start. The safety that wasn't called a safety. And the Lions, I felt like that they were ready to go from the moment that the whistle started. Now, they had some drive that stalled, but more or less, this game for me was a story about George Pickens, and he kind of almost quit on a few routes, it felt like. Even though I'm not going to say that he quit it on his team, but it felt like that the effort was just not there on a few passes to where he was open. And I think that's where a lot of George Pickens haters, like if you're the Steelers fans and you saw him get traded away, I believe Trey Ringo posted a tweet and said, if you were wondering why Pittsburgh traded away George Pickens, just look no further than this game. Because that will show you what George Pickens really is about.
Perfect example. Steelers fans, Afton says, surprise, surprise.
So with that being said, though, I still think that you've seen much more better performances of George Pickens this season alone versus what you haven't seen from him. But at the end of the day, man, it was really a pretty good high-scoring game. I thought that the Cowboys were going to make a furious comeback because it was 37-30, and I was just like, you know what? Just get a stop, Dallas, because it seemed like that the Lions, they were looked to be pretty broken on defense. You could probably get away with a score, and then who knows? But then the Lions ended up putting away the nail in the coffin, and then the final touchdown to get them up 44-30. That was the driver. So great game overall. I'm not surprised the Lions won this game, but what a stupid decision by me to go against the grain that I've always known. I don't know what the hell I was thinking, but I start off shooting myself in the foot, going 0-1 to start off this week, and I'm already 3 games behind you. So there you go.
Yeah, when you said the Cowboys, I was like, well, it's not bad because they've been playing. The Cowboys have been playing good football. They just beat the Eagles. The week before that, they beat. Damn, I can't remember now. But anyways, they've been playing good football. Their defense has been showing some promising play. Dak's out there playing like they say he's playing MVP football. George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb have been playing good, but let's not forget CeeDee Lamb went down with concussion last night as well. But I'm gonna tell you this right now, though. Jahmyr Gibbs was out there running the damn ball, man. I believe he tied the touchdowns by under 24, 26-year-old, whatever. And guess who owns that record? Barry Sanders. He tied Barry Sanders for rushing touchdown. Jahmyr Gibbs. Yeah, I agree, Afton. I love Gibbs. I remember when they drafted Gibbs, I was like, what the hell? They're reaching. But, dude, I'm going to tell you this right now. With Gibbs and Montgomery, those two, they just run the damn ball, and I love seeing it. And I loved seeing it last night just to see what Gibbs did. I think he had 3 rushing touchdowns last night. 3 touchdowns last night. It was great to see. It was really great to see. But all right, well, go ahead.
But just on that point when it comes to the rushing, first of all, I love that they saw a guy and they targeted him in the draft when they came to, because people felt like that was a reach, and it did felt like that. But at the end of the day, they knew that they weren't going to have a shot to get him in the second round, and they made a bold decision. You had 2 first-round picks already, so might as well just spend one of them on that guy. But I also think that the calling card of adding David Montgomery also really enhanced the value of Jahmyr Gibbs too. They're Thunder and Lightning. In my opinion, they're the best running back duo in the NFL. They're my favorite to watch. It's Sonic and Boom or whatever. Whatever nicknames you give them.
And Knuckles.
Sonic and Knuckle. Yeah, it's you can tell which one is the lightning speed and which one is the thunder and power. But even then, they both can be franchise type of style running backs. And David Montgomery, man, he's still a grinder. He's still one of those guys that can get you 100 yards a pop if he needed to. So, but like I said, tip my cap to the Lions, man. What a hell of a win for them.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get into the rest of the week. You know, like I said, Justin started off 0-1. I started off 1-0 with picking the Detroit Lions. Justin picked the Cowboys. But anyway, let's get on to our first matchup. The Bengals 4-8 versus the 8-4 Bills in Buffalo. And it's going to be cold on Sunday. 53.5 over under. It's a 6-point spread. Justin, you know, we already covered it on Running Through the Jungle, but you know what? Who are you picking, the Bengals or the Bills?
This is absolutely a trap game for the Buffalo Bills. They do not match up well with the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm sorry, you don't. This is the wrong opponent at the wrong time for them. If this was earlier in the year when Joe Burrow was not playing, sure, yes, give me the Bills all day, every day. But the Bengals have Joe Burrow back. He shook off the rust after the first half and then played well in the second half into that Baltimore Ravens game on Thursday night. And you're getting T. Higgins back. Now, they are not going to have Trey Hendrickson for the 4th or 5th game in a row, it feels like. At this point, Who cares? The defense it feels like that they've gotten better, too, with the Bengals defense there. So I'm going to keep it short and sweet because you can hear the deep dive and analysis takes on the Run Through the Jungle episode when we did the preview show for this game. But I am going to go with the Bengals in a high-scoring shootout affair. And I believe that it's going to be a fun matchup. 2 of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. Let's go. They're duking out in Orchard Park.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Already, you know, if you guys watched us on Wednesday on Running Through the Jungle, I picked the Cincinnati Bengals as well. You know, and I know a lot of it is fandom, you know, and I know because I'm a big biased Bengals fan. But you guys have seen me in past weeks pick against the Bengals every week. And this week, I'm rooting for the Bengals. I believe we can do it. Joe Burrow just has that. He has that formula where he can just do what Joe Burrow does, and I think we're seeing a little bit better defense. You know, we have our concerns, of course. Go watch it on our Wednesday show, but I'm picking the Cincinnati Bengals as well. Next up, the Indianapolis Colts versus the Jacksonville Jaguars in Duval. Colts are coming in at 8-4. Jags are coming in at 8-4 as well. 1.5 point spread, 46.5 over under. I'm gonna go with. Oh man. So here's the deal. As y'all have seen us over the weeks past, we pick the Jaguars to win, they lose. We pick them to lose, they win. But I actually last couple of weeks I picked the Jaguars to win and they've won. The Colts have kind of, you know, they've had their bumps in the road. There's games they should have won. There's games that they got, you know, it was pretty rough for them. But I still don't have faith in the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I'm sorry, John. I'm sorry if you guys know who John Otto is. He's a good friend of mine. He's also the drummer for Limp Bizkit. Anybody's a big Jaguars fan. But unfortunately, this week I'm picking the Colts to win over the Jaguars. That Jaguars team just has me in such doubt that I just don't know if when it comes to this type of an opponent versus the Colts, they can actually make a stand at home and beat the Colts. I just don't think the Jags can do it. I'm picking the Colts. Justin, who you going with?
It's so crazy because the last couple of weeks you have been picking the Jacksonville Jaguars for the reasons that I've outlined of why I picked against them, and we split on this opponent because I don't trust the Jags either. But you know who else I don't trust more than the Jacksonville Jaguars? The Indianapolis Colts. They have actually regressed back to form a little bit. I still like everything what I see from them on offense with Jonathan Taylor leading the helm. But I don't know what kind of Daniel Jones I'm going to get in this game. And if you are paying attention to any of the AFC South matchups, which a lot of us don't really, but the Colts in Jacksonville does not bode well to them very much.
Right.
Historically, Trevor Lawrence has had the Colts number in Jacksonville. So I will give a pick here to Jacksonville. I'm very
Yeah.
cautious. I'm very cautious because I do not like the Jags neither. But
Yeah.
I am going to pick the Jags in this spot for now. Believe it or not, this is for the division lead. If Jacksonville win this game, they'll be sitting in first place of the AFC South. I want to say pretty, comfortably and pretty, but they'll have a 1-game lead over them while they got to wait and see what the Houston Texans do against the Chiefs later on tonight, or later on that Sunday, I should say. But give me the Jags. I don't feel great about it, but I think I'll pick them to win here.
Yeah, what's funny is so, actually, John and I were talking about this matchup this week, and he said that, and it's true, the Colts have not won in Duval in like 11 seasons, 11 years, or 11 games, or something like that. They haven't won for a long time in Jacksonville. But I'm sticking with my Colts. I'm sticking with my Colts pick. Anyways, next up.
I think at the end of the day, I think that you're going to see the Indianapolis Colts get one of the wild card teams. They're going to go from one of them hot shot contenders where they were flying high with only one loss in the number 1 seed in the AFC. And I believe that they're going to ultimately end up with the 5 seed. That's what I feel. That's kind of where I'm at with this team here.
Yeah. And that's the thing that I feel about the Colts and the Jaguars. Like, I think that they possibly could make the playoffs, but I think, to me, I feel like they're a one and done. They're both one and done teams. I don't know why I feel that way, but I just feel that they're one and done teams. But all right, the Commanders and the Vikings. Commanders are coming into Minnesota, 3-9 Commanders with Jaden Daniels back this week. The Vikings 4-8. I couldn't tell you if it's JJ McCarthy or some scrub from Minnesota 5 years ago. I don't know. The 3-9 Commanders versus the 4-8 Vikings. 1.5 point spread. 43.5 over under. Justin, who you going with?
Yeah, I'm going with the Commanders here. At this point in time with the Vikings, I just don't trust this team to save my life. So I'm going to go with the Commies here. Jaden Daniels is back. Sure, he might be rusty a little bit coming back from his injury that he suffered 6 weeks ago, or maybe 7. I'm not quite sure the exact timeline. But at the end of the day, man, I like what I saw from them against the Denver Broncos on the road, by the way, on Monday night. That was a hell of a game. And that was Marcus Mariota at quarterback.
Yep.
I think that I will trust the Commies more in this spot.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm taking the Commanders as well. The Vikings kind of, they started off hot, and we seen what they did to Cincinnati, but they started off hot, and then they just went downhill. I don't have any faith in the Vikings, unfortunately. I'm going with the Commanders. Jaden Daniels back from his left elbow dislocation. I don't know how they can. I don't know how he's coming back after that, because that was awful. I'd be done for the season if I dislocate my elbow and arm like that. I ain't coming back for the season. I'm a big puss. So, but I'm taking the Commanders as well. Next up, we'll do this next game, Justin, and then we'll go to commercial break. Okay.
Gotcha. Yeah.
All right. Next up, the Dolphins versus the Jets. Dolphins are 5-7. Jets are 3-9. 2.5 point spread. 41.5 over under. They're going into New York. The Dolphins won last week. The Dolphins are, winning. They're not playing bad. The Jets surprised us last week and beat the Falcons, but the Falcons haven't been playing their best football at all. I think the Dolphins have the best matchup here versus the Jets, so I'm going with the Miami Dolphins. Justin, who you going with?
I really don't know who's going to win this game at all. I truly don't. And if you would have asked me a couple of weeks ago, I probably still would have gave you that exact same answer. Just because the Dolphins are where their record says that they are right now, you got to give them some credit because they still look like one of the worst teams early in the year. They've kind of gone on a nice little bit of a streak here. But I think that it will come to an end at some point, and I don't believe it's going to be this week either. I also like what Aaron Glenn is doing with the New York Jets. That he does not have – this is a rebuilding team. And yet,
Right.
the way that they were able to steal some wins this season, bro, like against Cincinnati, Joe Flacco, and that offense, and against the Cleveland Browns in a game where the Browns really just were stupid and beat themselves on a false start or an offsides penalty that gave the Jets the opportunity to close out that game. And then
Hmm.
last week against Atlanta, that's more impressive to me for them. And I was like, wow, the Jets probably have something here in the future. But unfortunately, I don't think they have enough talent to win this game. Division opponent. I'm not saying that the Dolphins know them too well, but I like what I'm seeing from the Dolphins. Even though they kind of like in a mini rebuild themselves, they've sold off some parts. I think Tua
Right.
is playing better football this stage right now than he has been earlier in the year, where he was just a turnover machine waiting to happen. So I think I'll go with the Dolphins here, even though I won't be surprised if the Jets pull off another win here next this Sunday too.
All right. Well, guys, thank you guys so much for watching and listening. Make sure you like, you subscribe, you share with your friends. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be right back with you. All right. Welcome back to the Friday Night Pick'em Show with your Running Through the Jungle crew, Justin Lacey and myself, Tim Lyons. Now, let's get back into it. Let's see. We left off with the Dolphins and the Jets. We both took the Dolphins. Next up, the Saints versus the Buccaneers. The 2-10 Saints versus the 7-5 Buccaneers. 41.5 over under. 8.5 point spread. I'm not going to waste any time on this. I'm taking the Buccaneers over the Saints. Why do I say that? Because the Aints are back in town, and I don't think that the Aints have the formula to even beat the Buccaneers. I don't care who's quarterbacking over there. The Buccaneers are going to take this one. Justin, who you taking?
Yeah, it looks like that the fans might be going to these Bucks games if they are going to be on a road game in attendance with the bags over their heads. I think the Saints fans they're just ready for the season to be done with. They
Right.
may end up being one of the teams that have the number one overall pick, although I think the Raiders are going to be the shoe in for that. Even the Titans as well too at 1-11. But yeah, give me the
Mm-hmm.
Bucks, man. I'm not going to waste too much time on this one here. This is one of those lowly matchups into the AFC NFC South where it's like, yeah, if you're the Bucks, if you lose this game, shame on you.
Right. Amen. Next up it's a bird game. We got the 9-3 Seahawks versus the 4-8 Atlanta Falcons. 6.5 point spread. Over under is 44.5. Justin, since I picked the last one first, you can go first. Who you taking the Seahawks or the Falcons?
I am gonna go with the Seattle Seahawks. That team is ready to beat anybody, in my opinion. I could also see a trap game here, being that this is a team that's going to be coming from the Pacific Northwest, traveling East Coast into Atlanta. But the Falcons just do not look good enough on defense. Even though I like some of the personnel that they have on that side of the ball, for like they can round into form later on.
Mm-hmm.
I think Raheem Morris is an okay coach, but nothing to ride home about. Mike
Right.
McDonald, on the other hand, is a coach that looks like that he's a shoo-in candidate for NFL Coach of the Year. So with that being said, I'm not picking against the Seahawks in this one. They're playing just too hot of a football here, and they still know that they have a shot at winning the NFC West, and
Mm-hmm.
they can send the Falcons even deeper into a pit of misery and not allow them to have any chances to be able to win the NFC South on their end. So yeah, give me the Seahawks in a nice little comfortable win for them.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm taking the Seahawks. The Seahawks over the Falcons any day. Last week though, what I was surprised is when the Seahawks played the Vikings. The Vikings shut down JSN. JSN, I think he only had like 23 yards receiving, but the
Mm-hmm.
Seahawks defense whooped the hell out of them. And with the way that defense is playing and the way that JSN plays, even though he had an off week last week, um, I'm still going with the Seahawks all day, any day. And you might want to call me a homer here because I am in Seattle, as you guys know. I'm going to take the Seahawks over the Falcons. And the Falcons they've been a disappointment. They really have. Bijan
Huge
Robinson's out there.
disappointment.
And what's sad is Bijan Robinson is out there giving his 110%. And I'm saying he's putting up great fantasy football numbers, but they're still not winning football games. It's awful.
All right.
It's awful to see. So, yeah, Seahawks for me. Next up,
AFC North.
AFC North matchup here. We got the 6-6 Steelers versus the 6-6 Baltimore Ravens. 42.5 over under, a 6.5 point spread. Justin, you know what? I'm gonna let you go ahead and pick this up or pick this one, but let's give a shout out to our homie in the chat, Mr. Breaking Burrow. That would be Brandon Harriet. He said Seahawks ran the ball great last week. Thanks for coming, bro. We really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, I know he's not feeling great. Yeah,
he's not. But I'm glad to see him here. He's talking trash, talking his football knowledge, because Brandon knows a lot about football. He knows a lot about gambling as well. But he's been under the weather. Everybody keep him in your prayers, and then hope to see him back next week on Running Through the Jungle and the homies. But Justin, who you got? Steelers or Ravens?
Going with the Ravens. And the reason why I'm going with the Ravens is because I cannot and will not bet on that Steelers offense. They are bad. And even if I don't care who's quarterback in that offense, they are just not good. And as far as the Steelers defense go, I still believe in their pass rush. But I also think that the Ravens, they don't have the appetite to be able to handle the Steelers defense from a pass rushing standpoint either. And I think that their guard play means like they're not going to make the holes deep enough for Derrick Henry to be able to run through, or even Keaton Mitchell. So with that being said, man, I think that the Ravens, they're at home in this one. If this game was in Pittsburgh, give me Pittsburgh, because Lamar notoriously struggles against the Steelers in Pittsburgh. He just notoriously struggles against the Steelers altogether in his career. But the last two times they played Pittsburgh in Baltimore, they've won. And that includes last year's playoff game, round 1. So I think I'm going to trust the Ravens here in this spot, even though I do not like either of these two teams. And it's going to set up for an even greater showdown the following week when the Ravens go to Cincinnati.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I'm worried about Lamar Jackson. Is Lamar going to be able to do something? But then again, I'm worried about Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is out there. He's a one-handed man as a quarterback if he's playing. Afton, is Aaron Rodgers playing on Sunday? I'm sure
I think he's playing.
So I'm assuming he's playing. It's hard for a quarterback to come out there with one hand, and you're limited to certain run plays on certain directions. You can't really do play actions. You can't go under center. If he needs to pop back, to scramble, he's really holding the ball with one hand and then, against his cast. That's the formula for failure. I'm sorry, but it is. That's a formula for failure. If I was the Pittsburgh Steelers, I would have Will Howard out there this week. I would have him out there. Give that boy a shot. But anyways, I'm not a Steelers fan and I'm not a Ravens fan, but I think the Ravens have the better formula to win, to beat the Steelers in Baltimore. And I think you're right. If this game was in Pittsburgh, we might be saying a little bit different tune here. But this is the Steelers, man. I know they beat the Bengals once, but then they got destroyed by the Bills last week. They couldn't stop the run to save their lives. If Derrick Henry gets on that scoop, he might be running for 200 yards himself on Sunday. But as I'm going to say, is I'm picking the Ravens over the Steelers. Justin, next up is the 1-11. Jiminy Christmas. 1-11 Titans versus the 3-9 Browns. Rookie versus rookie. 33.5 over under. 4.5 point spread. Can I say that they end up in a tie?
You very well might.
But does that count as a win for me if I say they end up in a tie? But what if they win or they lose? Is that a loss for me?
Well, how about this? If you correctly predict the tie, we'll count it as 2 for you. Because nobody has accurately predicted a tie in my lifetime from what I've seen.
Yeah, it don't matter. I'm picking the Cleveland Browns. I think Myles Garrett's gonna have a day, bro. I think he's gonna have a day on Sunday versus the Titans. I don't think Cam Ward can do anything with that offense. That whole and I'm not gonna blame it completely on Cam Ward. We know what's happening. The Titans. Brian Callahan got fired. They have an interim coach and all that other stuff. but I just don't think the Titans even have it in them to beat the Cleveland Browns. I'm picking the Browns over the Titans. Justin, who are you picking? The Titans or the Browns?
Yeah, both of these teams are abject disasters, but yeah, the abject disasters that's even worse is the Tennessee Titans. So let me go with the Cleveland Browns here, and I'm at this point with the Browns. You're just pretty much going to root for Myles Garrett's sack record. That's all you're watching this game for.
Yep.
Who cares about what Shador does? Although I do believe that if he does put on somewhat of a similar performance like he did against the Raiders, Shador fans are going to wallop and hoot and holler like crazy, thinking that he's the next coming of Joe Namath. That's not happening. But at the end of the day, I think that the Browns have a much more formidable defense. The Titans, they are just a mess. I have them at least winning a couple of games at some point, but I don't think this might be the game that Tennessee gets a win and Cam Ward gets a win that makes him feel pretty solid about his NFL career going forward. Yeah. I mean, he could win this game, but I'm not going to pick it because that was another abject disaster pick of a failure that I did last week, picking the Titans to upset the Jaguars. Yeah, that did not happen. That did not happen. And that was another stupid decision by me, even though I had my reasons behind it. But yeah, it just goes to show, man, stop picking bad teams. So yeah, give me the Browns though, even though they're another bad team, but whatever.
Yeah, our own Brandon Harriet is picking the Tennessee Titans. Austin, I don't know who this time. Austin Art says this will be another time where I'll have to go with the Browns. The Titans are the Browns should be doo-doo water. So are you taking the Titans or are you taking the Browns?
He's taking the Browns.
You taking the Browns?
That's how I read it.
So Austin's taking the Browns. You know, I just hope this is what I'm hoping for this game is that the Cleveland Browns fans don't be. If Shador Sanders wins this game, when he wins this game, don't be sitting there saying, "Oh yeah, we knew we should have got him. He's a starting quarterback," and blah blah blah. It's the freaking Tennessee Titans. Don't even pull that crap. But anyways,
right? They already did that with the Raiders when they beat the Raiders 2 weeks ago. So
they did. All right. Well, speaking of the Raiders, the Broncos 10-2 versus the Raiders 2-10.
We need to waste any time on this. Seriously.
7.5 point spread, 40.5 over under. I'm taking the Broncos. Not saying anything else. Justin, who are you taking? The Broncos or Raiders?
Yeah, I get it. The Broncos have their flaws on offense, but man, how can you go with the Raiders? I'm sorry, you just can't. So yeah, Broncos for me. Watch this be an upset crazy of the week because we did this several weeks ago when we just both assumed that Buffalo was just going to steamroll the Dolphins, and that's what started the Dolphins started that little bit of the hot streak there. But that's not happening this time. Yes, we're going with the Broncos.
They still got Geno Smith over there as a quarterback in Las Vegas.
That team is just horrible. Period. Awful. So I'm sorry, but yeah, give me the Broncos, man.
Yeah, I think Pete Carroll gets fired after this game. I don't know. Next up,
he may want to just go ahead and retire after this year. It's I tried to make my comeback to the NFL. I think I'm done.
Yeah, I agree. Next up, the Bears 9-3 versus the Packers 8-3-1. The Bears are leading the NFC North right now. 44.5 over under, 6.5 point spread. Justin, now this is a game we got to take serious here.
Finally.
Who you picking?
Finally. This game is going to be interesting. Now, this game was actually originally a 1:00 game, but they switched it with the Bills and Bengals game because they didn't think that Joe Burrow was going to be back. So that's why that was flexed out of that time slot of 4:25 Eastern Standard Time and into the 1:00 spot. The Bears and Packers took this game over in its place. This is going to be a very interesting game. Does Caleb Williams get the monkey off the Chicago Bears' back of winning this game in Green Bay? They just do not beat the Packers in Lambeau. I think they've only mustered up maybe one win that came in Soldier Field last year, but I don't think that they're good enough to beat the Packers on the road in Lambeau this time around. It's finally the Bears-Packers will not really feel like a one-sided rivalry, but if you're asking me the team that I trust the most, I do like what I still see from the Packers on defense. Micah Parsons, I think that he's going to headhunt this game. You might see 2, maybe 3 sacks of Caleb Williams in this game. They got to play the Packers twice and then this back end stretch of the season. I don't think Caleb Williams is going to be ready for it. Now, last week, I incorrectly predicted the Bears to lose against the Eagles on Black Friday because they were at Philadelphia on a roll. This is a whole different team on the road in this particular environment. Not saying that the weather's going to be a factor because Soldier Field is also cold and windy and snowy as well too. But I think that there's something about Lambeau where the Bears just do not play well. And I also think that the Bears defense, which they lead the league in turnovers to this day still, I don't know if they're going to be good enough to be able to ball hawk against Jordan Love in that offense. Because at the end of the day, I think Jordan Love also is smart enough to realize that he got a strong running game too with Josh Jacobs compared to their running game as well. So I think I like the Packers in this one. I think it should be in for a fun game. I don't see a high scoring game whatsoever between these two teams. I think a mid-range 20s, maybe the Packers get the upper end of like maybe 28 to 23. I think I can probably see a game unfolded in that way. But I think this is where the Bears win streak comes to an end here for me.
Yeah, I was thinking about some stuff because I was like, well, the Bears have to come to the Lambeau, and then like in 2 weeks they go to, or then the Packers go to Soldier Field. I think they're going to split these. I think you're 100% correct. I think the Packers are going to win this, and the Bears streak goes to an end. And don't take it personal, but I just don't think the Bears can beat the Packers at home. I think that it just I just don't see it. I don't see it happening. I'm not going to go into details, but you guys know how I feel about Caleb Williams. The Bears defense has been playing pretty damn good football. They're running the ball great. I did see. I think Rome Odunze. He's out. So
he's out.
I'm definitely going to give they're playing in Lambeau. I'm giving the advantage, the edge to the Packers as well, taking the Packers over the Bears. Next up, the Rams versus the Cardinals. 9-3 Rams versus the 3-9 Cardinals. 8.5 point spread, 47.5 over under. Justin, I'm taking the Rams over the Cardinals. I think they have a bounce back game this week, and they beat the hell out of the Arizona Cardinals because Matt Stafford said, you know what? I'm freaking pissed off that I threw those interceptions and we lost to the Carolina Panthers, and Stafford puts foot in ass and the Rams win this game. Justin, who you taking?
You know what? I think that they just wasn't ready to see that the upstart team in Carolina was ready to put up a game like that. And I think it took them by surprise. I think that they are going to understand that they can't do that with the Arizona Cardinals, not because the Arizona Cardinals some juggernaut. And well, it's just because it's a division opponent. And they should know this team pretty well, regardless of the landscaping that they've been dealing with, the shuffling of the decks with quarterback. You got Kyler Murray still out. Jacoby Brissett is still playing. Bottom line is, even though I know that the Cardinals are at home, and I still think that they can still put up points against the Rams potentially, but I'm not picking the Cardinals in this game. I am going to pick the Rams. They're still one of my teams I believe that could represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. Matt Stafford is still one of the MVP on the MVP winner trajectory here in this season. So, yeah, I think I'm going to go with the Rams.
All right, next up, the Texans versus the Chiefs. It's the Sunday night football game. 7-5 Texans versus the 6-6 Chiefs. 45.5 over under, 3.5 point spread. Justin, since I picked the Rams first, who are you picking, the Texans or the Chiefs?
Both of these teams need to win this game bad for their playoff position odds. Both teams right now are outside looking on the hunt, looking in. They are out of the playoff picture right now. They're definitely going to be paying attention to what's going on in Buffalo when the Bengals and Bills play each other, because if you're the Texans and the Chiefs, your rooting interest, it should be the Cincinnati Bengals, just because you want to be in the playoff picture. And the same thing, regardless of how this game right here shakes out.
Right.
But with that being said, I know the Chiefs are on the ropes of just basically missing the playoffs entirely. And I understand that the Texans defense is pretty much right there on top of being the best in the NFL. I still don't know what to make of CJ Stroud yet, but something just tells me that the Chiefs wins this game. I don't know if I don't feel that allure of that Chiefs Mahomes magic this year. I think that, they've been disappointed by so many kind of games that just hadn't gone their way. Thanksgiving was the whoa factor for me. Like, whoa, yeah. I didn't think that they were going to lose that game. I thought that, I understand it's the Cowboys or whatever, but I thought that they were going to have that game ready in hand for them to deliver on the silver platter. That's why I picked them to win that game on the road.
Right.
Even though I know that they're at home this time, and the Chiefs are better at home than on the road. I think I'm going to go with the Chiefs. They're desperate. If between these two teams, the Chiefs are the most desperate team to win this game because Mahomes has never missed the playoffs. The Texans, on the other hand, they understand that, man. Their quarterback missed some time and whatnot. It's not the end of the world for them. They still have a path to the playoffs as a wild card team, even if no matter who loses this game. But at the end of the day, man, this is a pivotal game for both of these teams to try to make at least one of the two wild card remaining spots here. And so I think I'm going to go with the Chiefs in this one here.
Yeah, I like everything that you said because the Chiefs are playing for do or die. The Texans are playing for to stay alive. Their defense is top notch right now. We've seen what they did to the Bills. We've seen what they've done to many teams so far. Even despite their record. But I'm gonna go with our own Brandon Harriet, Texans and the dynasty. I'm picking the Texans over the Chiefs. I just don't think that the Chiefs can withstand that Texans defense. I think they're going to get to Mahomes 3-4 times, cause him to panic, make bad throws, turnovers on the wrong time, and the Texans end up winning the game by, I'm going to say, 3 points. I'm picking the Texans over the Chiefs. Next up.
Hold on. Before you get to that, you ain't going to hear me complain if the Chiefs lose.
Exactly. And that's part of me, though, too. I'm like, you know what? The Chiefs can lose any day of the week, and I wouldn't be sad about it. I wouldn't even give a damn as long as they're not in the playoffs.
Right. Effects. All right. Last game here. Monday Night Football. 8-4 Eagles versus the 8-4 Chargers. 2.5 point spread. Over under is 41.5. You know what, Justin? I'm going to go ahead and let you pick this Monday Night Football game. Who are you going with? The Eagles or the Chargers? Gosh, the reason why I said if you're the Texans or Chiefs that's a pivotal game and that there is still a path to get into the playoffs regardless if you lose this game or win this game is because of this Eagles-Chargers game. I think I need to go with the Eagles here. I just do not trust the Chargers. They got too many injuries at this point. I understand that the Eagles offense has been crazily chaos at this point to the point where it's like you can't trust and put faith in them. Jalen Carter is also potentially out too with both shoulders and getting operated procedures on. That defense does not look the same. But one team that cannot take advantage of another opponent, a strong opponent's weaknesses and their downfall is the Chargers. They lose games just to like weird opponents a lot of times, much more often than you think. And I understand Justin Herbert, he's also dealing with that left hand injury or whatever too. I just don't care. I can't pick the Chargers in this game here, even though I know that they're at home. There's going to be a ton of Eagles fans in attendance because LA and SoFi Stadium, you're going to have a lot of Eagles fans. So it's going to feel like a home game for the Eagles in this one. They also need to bounce back and win this game because right now, if you're the Eagles, you have no shot at the number one seed if you lose this game. And quite frankly, I don't even trust the Eagles to get the number one seed, period. But if you want to still claim home field advantage, you must win this game. Because you're not going to have many opportunities to be playing bad football on offense and then sneak out away with the win. So, bottom line is, as much as I don't trust the Eagles offense anymore, much as I've got bit in the butt by picking them and they lost games that they should have won, I think I'm still going to go with the Eagles to win this game. And I think that this is really going to put the Chargers on watch, that they had started off strong, but then they're going to tumble down the stretch and potentially miss the playoffs. Because, again, if you're the Chiefs or Texans, you're just looking for two out of three of those wildcard teams to slip up. And the Bills and the Chargers are the two that's in those slots now. And, yeah, at this point, I think the pressure gets to them.
Yeah, I'm looking at this game and I'm like, we can't trust the Eagles offense. We can't trust the Chargers. We really can't trust any of these two teams. I understand that the Eagles are defending Super Bowl champions. The Chargers, they've turned around, with bringing Harbaugh in, and they played good ball at the very beginning, but they've suffered a lot of injuries as well. They lost their left tackle Alt. It's just they haven't looked, and they're never dependable. Like there's games that they should be winning and they're losing them. It's like, what are you guys doing? And I don't know if but that's Justin Herbert though. That's how I feel about it. Is Justin Herbert seems to come out there and gunsling, and he has great games, and then he just shits the bed the next game, and they lose maybe two games in a row. And I don't have any faith in the Chargers. Like I said, I don't have any faith in the Chargers. I don't have any faith in the Eagles. I feel like I should just get a coin out and flip it and see which one lands on heads, and then I'll pick that team.
What?
No, I don't have a coin.
I'm about to say, I ain't got no
coin
coin around me neither. I'm about to say, let's do it right here, live on the mic.
Right. But with that all being said, though, is I'm going to go with the screw it. I'm going to go with the Eagles over the Chargers because, like I said, I just don't have faith in that team as well. But the Eagles' offense is better because of Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, their wide receivers. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Eagles. Screw it. I'll just go with the Eagles. Picking the Eagles over the Chargers. And anyways, everybody, thank you guys so much for watching and for listening. Make sure you like, you subscribe, you share with your friends, share with your friends, neighbors, boyfriends, cousins, uncle down the street. Share us. We're not just a Cincinnati Bengals podcast. We're also, like I said, we're touching on this NFL thing. Go watch Justin. I think he's on the Homies tonight, I believe, taking over for Brandon.
Yep.
But go check out him here at 8 o'clock. In about 40 minutes, he'll be on there on the Homies. You can catch them on the Know It Alls channel, or I think it's the Steel Curtain Network channel. But other than that, Justin, you got any final thoughts, anything to say before we wrap this up?
This is December football, and at this time, it is do or die for a lot of teams for their playoff odds here. And we've mentioned quite a few of them on this show tonight because it's about that time where it's basically about my picks. Basically, are really defined about who wants it more. It's not necessarily truly about the strategy and X's and O's, even though we can get into all of that stuff. But who wants it more? Who does it matter to more? Because at the end of the day, the teams that want it more ultimately is consistently going to be the ones that come out with a victory in this game here. And playoffs is here. This is December football. The weather is cold in most parts of the country, unless you're in South Florida and in LA for some reason. But I think that if you want it more, you'll do more. And I think that the teams that are really about it, they're going to show their skins a lot more than the teams that are just pretenders. And I think we know who the pretenders are in this part of the season. Even though the AFC is just a monsoon of a wild card, we really don't know who's going to come out on top in that conference. As Cincinnati Bengals fans, we're looking at it straight in the face. You got to win out, because at the end of the day, you got opportunities to run the table here if you're a Bengals fan. And if you're the Eagles, you got an opportunity to really grab a stranglehold in the division, and the Cowboys kind of regressed a tad bit there. So what you could do is just stay consistent, just keep winning, and eventually you'll overcome the nightmare messes that you have on offense. And as far as like the Chiefs and Texans, I mentioned them. They're playing each other this week. Yes, don't peek ahead at other things. You got each other to worry about. But at the end of the day, man, your playoff odds they're still open for you. Now I want to say they're slim, but they're still open for you. But at the end of the day, man, this is what I like. This is my favorite time of the year with December football. This is what it's all about, man. And I'm excited to see how these things unfold.
Yeah, you're definitely you hit it on the head. This December football is where teams are made or teams go to die. It's either you turn that corner and you keep going up and up, or you lose the next 5 games and you find yourself at home instead of in the playoffs. But anyways, again, Justin, thank you so much for coming. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. I see we have Tape Boy Fresh in the chat. Austin's Art, Afton. We got Brandon and Harriet in the chat. Thank you guys so much. And for you that didn't say hello, thank you guys for coming. We appreciate you being here on our Friday night. But then again, have a great Friday. Who day?